Начинаем нашу образовательную программу, дискуссионно-образовательную, которая сопровождает биеннале молодого искусства, которая проходит в Москве, как вы знаете, в 5-й раз. И эта программа озаглавлена «Цифровая экология. Искусство после интернета». В этой программе мы затронем целый ряд разных важных проблем. И главная проблема, конечно, это современное состояние искусства. Искусство, которое делает новое поколение художников, которые, как показывает нам основной проект биеннале, действительно в значительной степени сконцентрировано на новых технологиях и на том, каким образом эти новые технологии влияют на нашу жизнь, на наше сознание, на наш быт, естественно, на искусство и прочее, прочее. Поэтому важной частью нашей программы будут и дискуссии, и лекции специалистов, которые будут так или иначе рефлексировать вот это новое состояние сознания, новую даже телесность, да, нашу виртуальность, в которую мы постепенно все переходим, и так далее. Кроме того, очень важной частью нашей программы будут дискуссии между художниками молодого и старшего поколения, поскольку биеннале у нас молодого искусства. Естественно, эта поколенческая проблематика напрашивается, и это, конечно, самый всегда дискуссионный и сложный момент, который возникает именно в связи с биеннале. Что такое молодой художник, когда художник перестает быть молодым, что такое молодость физическая, сегодня, что такое молодость творческая, есть ли она или это миф. Вот, поэтому мы подготовили для вас серию дискуссий между молодыми, уже достаточно известными художниками и мэтрами предшествующих поколений, которые, я надеюсь, дадут нам понять, каким образом развиваются и реинкарнируются в разные художественные периоды те или иные важные базовые темы, которые искусство так или иначе обсуждает на протяжении всей своей истории. Я благодарю партнеров, благодаря которым стало возможно проведение нашей дискуссионно-образовательной программы. Это Новотек, это Аксенов Family Foundation, большое спасибо. И, конечно, большое спасибо Теххабу «Ключ», который нас здесь принимает. Сегодняшняя наша дискуссия озаглавлена «Что скрывается глубоко внутри», и она будет посвящена проблематике основного проекта биеннале, который вы видите здесь в соседнем здании, и стратегических проектов, которые представлены в Государственном центре современного искусства и в Московском музее современного искусства. Я с удовольствием представляю вам участников сегодняшней дискуссии. Это Надим Самман, куратор основного проекта. Это Пол Розеро Контрерас, художник, участник основного проекта. Это Валерия Манчинелли, сокуратор стратегического проекта в Государственном центре современного искусства, который озаглавлен «Время обоснованных сомнений». И это Жуан Лаия, куратор проекта гиперсвязи, тоже стратегического проекта в Московском музее современного искусства. Еще я надеюсь, что все-таки на протяжении нашей дискуссии к нам присоединятся еще 2 художника, участвующего в основном и в стратегическом проекте. Но нам придется, чтобы не испытывать больше ваше терпение, начать без них. Тогда у меня первый вопрос к Надиму. Надим, что же все-таки скрывается глубоко внутри? На каких основных проблемах построен твой проект? И, собственно, какие ты наблюдения вообще сделал относительно искусства молодого поколения, готовя эту выставку? Вот микрофон за твоей спиной.
Good morning. Well, I think the exhibition has various trajectories. I think the artists who are participating expanded and challenged the proposal that was deep inside. But my initial idea for the to hear myself in my own ear. No, I mean this is an exhibition about interiority and a newfound access to spaces that until recently we perhaps didn't know exist. Spaces that perhaps were unavailable to us culturally. I'm talking about genetic and biological space. I'm talking about virtual space. I'm talking about almost subatomic space. You know, in the classical period, Democritus, the philosopher, theorized that there must be something that is the smallest thing possible, and he came up with the concept of the atom. The atom was later discovered, verified scientifically, and then in 1917, the first year of the Russian Revolution, the atom was split by Rutherford. So now you have not just the smallest thing that we thought was possible in existence split in half. And today, at the Large Hadron Collider in Switzerland, they're working and measuring spaces 1,000 times smaller than a proton. So the exhibition sort of impulse proceeds from this idea that space, or the horizons of sort of possibility aren't just expanding, but they're unfolding. This idea that there is always further to kind of go deeper inside. So the exhibition is also about ungrounding, which is to say those things which we thought were so stable, so solid, seem to be unsettled, more and more unsettled every day. The sort of the basis of kind of pre-modern kind of human representations. I mean, the Renaissance and the rest. You have this idea of the human body as an inviolate, as a kind of perfect sort of example, perhaps something that is set apart from the animals. And then with Darwin, of course, we had the idea that we're on a spectrum with the animals, we're species. But now the human body is in fact an open system to be reprogrammed, to be sort of spliced with inhuman systems. We can upload, we can change DNA, we can do genetic engineering, but we can also upload whole texts, whole books into the nucleotides of DNA. So you have this idea of even the human body as a kind of an open system. So I suggest that perhaps the ground is falling away beneath our feet, that spaces that we thought perhaps were closed off or inaccessible, or even that we couldn't have imagined existed before, are now kind of ever present in our cultural life. So that was kind of the first idea. And then it was up to the artists to tell me, or to push back and suggest other ways to think about it. And I think the exhibition kind of went on from there.
So do you try somehow to position yourself and the artists towards the classical tradition? Is it sort of polemics, or do you really feel it's just a new dimension of the classical tradition and classical interpretation of the body in present condition?
Oh no, I think we're absolutely post-classical, and we're also after modernity in some sense. So no, I'm not attempting to uphold some kind of archaic sort of cultural agenda. But no, look, there's a polemic in the title and the open call, but that's the format of the event. When you make an open call, then you don't know what you're going to get. So you have to sort of offer some direction. So the statement was this kind of polemical statement somehow, or at least it was a kind of suggestion of what the show could be. And then, the responses from the artists either, sort of took that idea and sort of developed it, or else fought back against it in some ways. So that's when you have an exhibition that proceeds according to that open call structure, you have to have some kind of sort of statement or thesis or polemic to give it some direction. So yeah.
Thank you. And the next question is to Paul. Do you feel this process of selecting upon an open call something comfortable for an artist? Do you feel finally comfortable with this selection? Do you feel comfortable with and do you agree with this Nadim's interpretation of the processes in contemporary artistic practice?
Thanks. Good morning. I think the idea of an open call is interesting, as Nadim said, in terms of trying to draw a path where artists can try to jump in and try to interpret what he's trying to show. In my case, when I saw the open call, when I read the statement, I felt that it was very close to me. And my work is pretty related with this idea of going to the source of the information, trying to produce knowledge based on the artistic research, and this is pretty much an idea of going deep inside of the work itself. So part of the statement says that artists are looking for ways to hack the world, to interpret what is going on in terms of environmental crisis or in terms of economic displacement and so on. So in that sense, a big part of my work tries to point to these interstices between what we know as digital worlds, biological worlds, and in that sense as well, what I'm developing is these ideas of hybridity. You know, the concept that I'm working with tends to explore how we can collaborate between the species, let's say, in this sense. And this piece that I'm showing here is this sort of interspecies collaboration based on the ideas of mutualism, ideas that are dragged out from post-humanism positions. In that sense, obviously the open call gives you the chance to propose something that is not completely specific, but related, right? So I felt pretty comfortable about it. I met Nadim back in the year just a few times, once in LA, but you know, it's not about that. It's about the chance to propose what you're doing, what you're working. And actually that's also a chance to, you know, for me, I'm coming from Ecuador, but I've been traveling and living in different countries. Once I was living in Los Angeles at the time when I saw the open call. So I think the open call also is a chance to let this open gate for more artists in the world, because the process of biennials used to be very like closed, right? So in that sense, you know, completely comfortable. I'm happy for the open call.
Thank you. I feel that Joan's project, Hyperconnection, has much to do with this topic of also interspecies collaboration and of connecting everything with everything in our world. Will you please comment on how is this connection or hyperconnection is constructed according to your project, the artist you invited?
Yeah, I mean, just to keep it brief, basically what the show does is exploring the idea of connectivity through technology, but also the current shifts in thinking related to object-oriented ontology and the Anthropocene, which are kind of shifting the positioning of man and subject onto the world. So yeah, it's basically these two main ideas. We're connected through technology, we're also connected as humans to other agencies and other entities because of this shift that is reshaping somehow, distinctions such as subject and object, for example. So it's combination of these two ideas.
Okay, and how is it reflected in the artworks you've selected for your project?
I mean, in various ways. Each work is a work, and then they talk together. Which one can I talk about? I mean, there is a kind of a key work in the show, which is the video called A Film Reclaimed by Ana Vaz and Tristan Berra. And it's key because somehow it grounds a lot of the issues and a lot of the ideas I was trying to engage with. And it's basically, a a selection of found footage from various sources, from history of film, but also to YouTube videos. And it's kind of reclaiming the idea of film as a political statement as well. So there's this kind of propaganda or manifesto-like form. And it basically touches upon all these ideas I just mentioned. So I mentioned it was key because it somehow, it grounds very clearly all the topics of the show.
Thank you. Besides all these topics of internet and virtual reality and post-humanity, there is one more important topic which was treated by the curators of another strategic project by Valeria and Sylvia, which is time for reasonable doubts. So it's a sort of a present state of our world and our generation, this condition of being always in doubt. So how is it according to your point of view, how is it treated by the artists, and what doubts do they have?
I think that the main doubt that emerged maybe from our exhibition and from our discussion in producing the exhibition was also to see the other part of this connectivity of this world, associate that the physical world, the real world, is made of boundaries, is made of nation state, is made of visa and other issues related to this problem. So there are some works in the exhibition that are related to this topic that for us was really important to show up, and other are more related to personal histories. But all the works, yes, emerge from the doubt of relation with our historiography, with our reality. So the main question that was at the in our exhibition is how artists are narrating our time, and we have found in the use of images, moving images, archival images, documentary images, the topic that was linking all these artists. So through this different using of the images, we have narrated our times. In difference to the other projects which deal with this problem of virtuality and materiality, your project mainly works with the topic of the present and the memory. I feel the archival material and so on. Do you feel really the memory is something very important for the present generation of artists? I think so, and also because some of the projects presented in the exhibition, like for example the one of Louis Anderson, they also see like our big database today, our big archive, the internet, could be a place of memory, of storage, but is also a place of control. So they are related not just with the history, but also with the present time through memory. So yes, this was one of the most important topics in the exhibition.
Nadim, is this topic of internet as a collection of memories also important to your project?
Well, I think one of the, you spoke about how the exhibition has to do with the sort of traffic between virtual and material space. But I think that this interaction actually defines the political realm today in many respects. If we look at the upheavals since, for example, the Arab Spring, Occupy, Anonymous, all this kind of thing, there is a very real sense in which the networked information technologies are redrawing the social fabric. They're sort of undercutting these institutions that we once these brick and mortar institutions that we once thought kind of held together the idea of the state and the rest. So the question of memory and archive may be part of it, but I think it's more about access is the question. You know, what do you have access to, and what are you excluded from? You know, and we start the exhibition more or less deep inside with this incredible overview of surveillance infrastructures by Ivar Vermeer. So in one sense, there is this note in the exhibition of being deep inside this kind of control matrix, in a sense. And then in a kind of a smaller, more contained example, we have a very different thing. Verena Friedrich's piece, The Long Now, which is a soap bubble, which is being kept, in one piece for longer than kind of feasible under normal circumstances. So it's kind of like an artificial life support system for this kind of sort of Baroque symbol of vanitas. So yeah, I mean, there is no archival function of the internet without materiality. You know, we talk about the cloud, we talk about data as kind of weightless, but it has this very physical infrastructure. It relies on mining and systems of economic systems that inherently generate political conflict. Revital Cohen and Tor van Balen have a piece in the exhibition called Too Good to Be True, which is made of, it's almost a landscape painting on copper plate, made with conflict minerals from the Congo. So there is no kind of, massive memory function of the internet without this process of sort of destruction, in a sense, in the real world, and our kind of attempts to forget it. You know, this iPhone is amnesia itself. That's why one of the second videos in the show is called Black Box. The black box is not just what exists in an airplane to record its crash. So you have something left. It's a device where you know what goes in and you know what comes out, but you don't know how it works. And I think that's a key figure for our contemporary moment. Our relation to the technological black boxes. They're the sort of the aporia or the black hole of our political, cultural sort of moment. So I don't know if that answers the question, but it's kind of what I'm thinking.
Yes, so the internet and technology in general also has a very strong political dimension as everything, right? Maybe someone from the public already has questions or comments. Ира Горлова, you said you had lots of questions.
Сейчас Надим говорил об этом пространстве архива и памяти, которая рассыпается. И мне казалось, что он комментировал выставку Сильвии и Валерии, а не собственный проект. Я хотела бы попросить, если можно, участников дискуссии, спросить их о том, видели ли они кураторские работы друг друга, и что они думают, взяли бы они кого-то из художников, представленных на этих выставках, в свой проект.
The question was, did you see the curated projects of each other, and would you... the curated project of the other curators presented here, and would you like to take some artists from their project to your project to feel this hyper connection?
Yeah, I thought it was there were interesting overlaps and relationships between all the three exhibitions, but coming from different directions, I thought there was a really discursive and archival element in your show, Valeria, which was perhaps missing in my exhibition in some respects. I thought Joao's show had had artists and sort of engagements which were something very much more present in what I was doing. So no, I thought that as a collection or a sort of a suite of exhibitions, it makes for an interesting combination. I wouldn't want to take their artists from their show. But certainly some of these artists I've been following and yeah, it was quite a pleasure to see that there is a kind of shared interest between us.
Guys, you, Valeria and Joan.
I don't know, it's a difficult question, but yes, I think that the three exhibitions showed all together they works very well. So this is the important thing that we have related to this main topic in looking at the different ways, but there are some common topics in the exhibition.
I found your show to be, the political element was very, very present. Something that, perhaps was a little brave, to propose for Moscow. But did you expect it to be accepted?
No. No. But the first proposal was also more political and more inquiring in contemporary times. So we also reconsider our initial proposal in the second part. But yeah, I think it was also important to show some works here in Moscow that maybe are not so usually presented, and also that our artists are really related to a long-term research. So maybe also presented documentation and not just one finished artwork. So maybe it was very interesting for the public here.
Joan, will you please also answer the question?
Yeah, I think the three shows think about what is today, what is now. And I think they are quite complementary because, yeah, Sylvia and Valeria's shows maybe looks back in how do we build memory and history. Nadim's show goes inside and my show kind of goes outside somehow. So I think, yeah, that's a very interesting conversation going on. And yeah, definitely, there's works in both shows that I could totally have, maybe not in this specific show, but in my projects in general, for sure, for sure.
Thank you. Any more questions? Well, then I also have one more question, probably the last one, I don't know. When we were thinking of doing such a project 14 years ago, we thought it was a necessity of doing a project which will be sort of a mechanism for unknown emerging artists to get visible. But while preparing this biennial, we, with my colleagues from the expert committee, had a very strong discussion whether we should focus on emerging artists or whether we should try to make, let's say, a portrait of a generation independently on the career of an artist, because first we had sort of criteria to select artists who hadn't had yet a huge solo show, which is sort of an important point in the artist's career, and an artist could have this huge solo show in his 30s. And at first we didn't consider such famous artists or such established, let's say, artists as possible participants of a project of young artists, first festival and then biennial. But then we decided that something more important was still to try to depict a portrait of a generation, because, well, as you all know, in the end of 80s, beginning of the 90s, there was a huge and important change in the world. So the generation which is now coming is a generation which grew up in certain conditions, political conditions and social conditions, very different to the conditions in which the previous generations grew up. But still we put this age limit of 35. Did you feel it's huge limitation for you to have to work only with artists under 35? Nadim?
Well, I mean, I've been saying this in various interviews, and I'll say it again. I don't think 35 is that young. I mean, in the past, you're supposed to be a very responsible and serious member of society at the age of 35, and if you look back just one or two generations, or perhaps a few more, you might find that the median age before death is probably hovering around there in the Middle Ages. So, you know, these sort of quantitative scales expand and contract. I mean, child labor. I mean, kids can do things. Kids can be adults as well. But I think it's fair enough. I think in the context of Russia, where you have, I think, a big veneration for the idea of the kind of paterfamilias sort of artist figure, this kind of senior artist, and who has their disciples or their acolytes and their epigones. I think that still goes quite strong here. You know, we talk about generations of Moscow conceptualism and following the kind of path of Kabakov and all this. So there is this kind of veneration of the older master in the Russian art world. So I find that the sort of interesting, or the most kind of polemical part of the title of this Biennale for young art suggests that it's not about lineage necessarily and this kind of genealogical sort of valorization, but it's about, you know, just what's out there now and having a clear process that sort of is free from that type of influence. So the open call and the kind of the structure of the jury. And it was very sort of stringent objectivity, I thought, to that process. Hi, welcome. I thought that was one way of guaranteeing this this uptake of figures who might not be necessarily new artists in their careers, but new in the context of Russia. You have a system for allowing the unexpected figure to enter the cultural stage here. So I thought that was the good part. And I, of course, got to discover so many artists who I've never heard of before, who I really found their work sort of to stand on a level that, you know, is not to be defined as emerging or young or anything. It's just real art, you know, made by people who are real artists. You know, so I don't place much emphasis on, you know, what it is about that moment in their career. The work speaks.
Thank you. Valeria.
In preparing the exhibition, obviously, it's a limitation, the age and your selection of the artist, but like any kind of limitation is something that you can give you the chance to explore more people that you don't know, artists that you don't know. So, but I don't think it's a problem of age of the artist or this definition of young that maybe doesn't really make so many sense. So it's just artists under 35. But sometimes it's like people are more preparing to have an exhibition, to be part of a collective exhibition with a strong concept, and some people are not so prepared also if they are. But it's not because they are young, it depends more on what they have done and what is their career and the possibility that they have. So I think, no. It's important that there are certain occasions for the artists, like the open call, the big open call. It's always important.
Joan, was it difficult for you to work under these limitations of age of the artists?
No, not really. I work usually with this age, actually, my generation, so it was kind of natural.
Thank you. We have two more participants who finally join us. Thank you for coming. I would like to present to you Adrien Missika and Yasmin Darияни, who missed the part of our conversation, but we also, we were talking about all the three projects within the biennial and the interconnections between them. So, Adrian, would you please comment on how you feel as a participant of the biennial? Do you feel connected with the other artists inside the project? And with the other projects, do you do you relate yourself and your artistic practice with the other artists?
How can I put this? Of course, in a way, I relate to my generation and to other artists, which are, we chose the same kind of life, and it's always interesting to meet them. In a way, because I spent now a few days here, almost a week, and we spent a lot of time together. It was a great experience to meet all these people from all these different countries. We were, in my case, I was mostly surrounded by Joao's artists in the hyper-connected show. We had a really great moment and experience, and I kind of feel very close to some of them, and of course not all of them. And we have very recently connected to the rest of the biennial and the other shows, and it was also a great pleasure to meet some people. I don't know, I could not say I love all and relate to everything. This would be not true, but there is lots of art that I find super interesting, and it doesn't really matter if I relate or not. I find it interesting sometimes things that are not very close from my practice, and I guess it's also why it's interesting to have such a wide range of artists in this kind of shows.
You said you feel connected to the artists of your generation. So do you really feel this generational approach of the whole project?
No, I said that because it's this biennial for young art, and I was now surrounded with young people. I'm one of the oldest, actually. And I don't know, I have friends from all generations. This doesn't really matter. Of course, there is more links with people who grew up with the same culture, at the same time. But I don't know, I feel also sometimes super far away from people my age who have really different ways of thinking.
Thank you. And for you, Yasmin, is it important somehow to be presented in shows with artists of different generations, to refer yourself and your practice to the artists of maybe older generation, or do you feel comfortable in this sort of generational shows?
Could you repeat that question?
Well, the question was let's say if you prefer the shows where there are artists from different generations, do you feel your connection with with any kind of artists or artistic movements of the previous generations? Would you like to be somehow related in the show with this, let's say, art history or recent art history, or do you feel comfortable in such generational shows?
I was recently in another group show with the same work, and I was the youngest person. So, but within that theme, we worked within the same questions, I'd say, and like for this show, curatorial-wise, it has a theme of very different expressions. So I don't know if I'm answering your question now. But.
Yes. Does anyone else have questions? Маш, Данила. Вот у Иры есть вопрос.
Вот я понимаю, что ясна очень драматургия проектов и гиперсвязи, и время обоснованных сомнений, поскольку там есть пространство, которое предполагает только одно движение зрителя, один путь его. Что касается, у меня вопрос к Надиму. Да? Это очень сложное пространство, и там есть разные входы и выходы. Вот есть ли для вас идеальный путь зрителя? Какие бы вы дали рекомендации? Потому что я знаю, что не все видели даже те, кто присутствует здесь, эту выставку, а те, кто видел на открытии, понятно, что они все такими шли потоками, хаотичными. И поэтому вот для вас какова была бы идеальная навигация по этому проекту, и на что бы вы посоветовали обратить внимание? И где та самая система слежки, о которой вы говорили?
Actually, the exhibition is supposed to be unidirectional. The only rule is that if you don't go back on yourself, you'll do it all in sequence. You're supposed to start on the second floor and then just keep walking through all the way to the end of that floor until you reach a staircase, go downstairs, deeper into the exhibition, and then almost walk back in the opposite direction through the rooms until you emerge back on the ground floor. So I do think in the exhibition that people tend to run amok during openings, but I think that if you go on a quiet day, you'll find this parkour sort of a bit more obvious. That said, the architectural or scenographic, dramaturgic sort of proposition is spaces of expansion and contraction. So we have these. I mean, you can be, of course, deep inside, a cave or an underground cavern. You can be kind of surrounded by, very tight space, or you can be sort of deep inside, space. You can be lost in space. The idea of interiority is not just, can expand in different directions. So I wanted this, your experience as a viewer to be one of the exhibition expanding and contracting, so and almost as a labyrinth of sorts. So I think that was important to play with the question of the idea of scale and space in that way. So I mean, I think that's probably what I was trying to do there.
Друзья, есть ли еще вопросы?
У меня вот такой вопрос. Многих кураторов, которых приглашают на выставки, курировать выставки большие в странах, которые несколько изолированы, возможно, в культурном сообществе всемирном, критикуют за где-то, может быть, колониальный подход к организации выставки. И мой вопрос заключается в том, что, вот, как вы думаете, удалось ли избежать вот этого колониального подхода, и как контекст страны, в которой, наш контекст повлиял на выставку, и как, соответственно, выставка повлияла на подход, на контекст. То есть вот этот контекст нашей культурной среды и нашего общества, повлиял ли он как-то на выбор художников и на выставку, на выбор темы? Sorry, should I speak in English? Okay, I can repeat. So my question was that there are a lot of critics about the approach for the curators who organize or who try to organize exhibitions in Russia or in other countries which are maybe a little bit isolated from the worldwide cultural society. And how do you think, did you think about this problem and the context of the country? Did it change your approach for choosing the artists, and how do you think the context of our country influenced on the exhibition, and how exhibition influenced on the context of our country?
Thank you for repeating your question. I'm really sorry. Like this
No, it's okay.
I take the device off because
I was thinking
I hear myself in my ear, and it's a bit disturbing. Yeah, well, I've been coming to Russia for something like 13 years. I come every year. I studied history of sort of post-Soviet Russian art, in university, and so I know the story of the birth of nonconformism and conceptualism and sotsart and Moscow actionism, and I have kind of an understanding of this art historical context since the late Soviet and immediate post-Soviet period. So I think I understand a little bit about some of the languages, the kind of like methodologies that have been present in the Russian artistic context. Having said that, I think that the title of this festival sets the agenda, International Biennale for Young Art. So, there is a mission in this festival to bring artists from overseas, and to bring kind of to be this kind of conduit for exchange of artistic languages and practices and sort of agendas, perhaps that may not be at the forefront of the agenda elsewhere. So I think it's important not to always try to serve what you think the audience wants to see or is like ready to see. I've been invited, in my capacity as someone who has, a set of artistic or aesthetic problems that I'm working with as a curator, or has a network of, of artists and institutions that I find to be relevant, and I'm supposed to bring that to bear on my selection from the international open call of people who applied. So it's, to a certain degree, it's up to the applicants to kind of force my hand in some way or another. I can only work with what I'm given, which is to a certain degree, unusual for me anyway, because normally I'm selecting anything. Trying to do something for Russia. You're always trying to do something for the context you make the exhibition in. And Russia's, just as special as any other place I might make an exhibition in this sense. So if you're second guessing your choices and your decisions, then you're not actually being, doing your job. You have to put yourself out there a little bit and hope that your judgment is, appropriate to the context. So I hope that's something that happened. But I mean, I would say this: it was important to have a good proportion of artists from Russia and the post-Soviet field in this exhibition, because at least there is a duty that this festival has to promote artists from the country and to place them into an international context and constellation, to present their work alongside work of the generational colleagues who they might not have exhibited with before. So that was one important thing that I would stick to. So I think we have 20 to 25% Russian artists in the show.
Еще вопросы?
First of all, I just say congratulations with such a great work. It's like greatest art piece. This Biennale, it's a completely international vibe, and I'm just happy to be here and to enjoy it. And the question is, I know that Nadim, you have a history with Russia now, and what your plan for the future?
What's next? Actually, I'm working with some Russian colleagues and friends here to try to put together the first Biennale of Antarctica. So that is a project sort of originally imagined by the artist Alexander Ponomarev. He's a long-time collaborator of mine, and we've been working on it and talking about and developing it for the last sort of 3 or 4 years. So we're now in a phase of fundraising to try to make it happen, to bring 100 artists and thinkers and writers and scientists to Antarctica on one of the scientific research vessels of the Russian Institute of Oceanography. So we hope to do that in March, and if anyone would like to donate to become a patron of this wonderful cause, there are different scales of patronage, and of course at the highest level that might get you participation on board the ship, this ship of fools, holy fools perhaps. So yeah, that's like the big idea, and we're working towards that, so watch this space.
Unfortunately, I myself had not had the opportunity to visit your exhibitions. I just arrived from holidays, but I had a question to you all, to creators and artists. Have you already had the opportunity to visit exhibitions of special projects made by Russian creators? And do you feel something that indeed connects you as creators or artists with Russian scene, not like general context of generations, but also of using medias or expanding some ideas of art in future. So that's a question. Open.
As far as I've seen, obviously you can find links and correlations between. Actually, I found some works that I related, even when they say that, because I see some works that goes back in time in your show, in the main show, that is probably more related to archives and stuff, even when it's not explicit, right? But in terms of your question is if how much have we seen of Russian art or what's going on here?
Russian curators who are creating these special projects for biennale.
Well, I spend a lot of time like installing the show, so in that sense I haven't seen that much, but we went to some openings and some shows these last days. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I'm answering the questions, but if you want to see links and if you want to look for connections and hyper-connected topics, you will find them, right? But I don't know if I'm pretty sure about it.
I'll tell you the truth. This man was up all night and all day for at least, a week with myself and many of the other artists in the exhibition installing. So we didn't get to leave the site much, but we're looking forward to.
Thank you. Sorry about it, but I don't know. Probably you guys. You go.
Well, I'm pretty much like you. This time we came to install and make this show happen, so that was the priority. I had the chance to visit a few exhibitions in Moscow, but this is not your question, and I don't have a huge knowledge on Russian curators' projects, unfortunately.
Yeah, no, I haven't visited any of the special apparel as well. It's normal. I mean, I'm not embarrassed at all. I really want to, I'm going to, but not up to now. So I can't really answer your question in a way.
Yeah, me too. I just had the chance to talk with some young curators during the biennale opening and the party.
I had a chance to visit the final exhibition of the Rodchenko School at the Vinencha, and then to see also the 10-year sort of anniversary summation of their achievements or some kind of highlights, and I found the the practices and the sort of the topics represented by the young artists in both of those exhibitions to be if not entirely like overlapping with let's say this foreign perspective that perhaps some of the artists in my show have, then at the very least fellow travelers. I think things have changed a lot even in the last 5 years. The way that mobile telephones have changed, the access to cameras and free editing software on computers. I mean, there was so much video work submitted to my exhibition that I actually had to not include almost 10 pieces that I would have been very happy to show under another context, because you can't have 50 videos in one show. I think I have something like 30, so it's already enough. But this access to kind of lens-based media, the kind of cultural referencing that's available across cultures because of internet access. This is something present in Russia, and I see in the work of these young artists.
Ну что, дорогие друзья, большое спасибо всем участникам сегодняшней дискуссии, всем слушателям, задававшим вопросы, неравнодушным к нашему проекту. И надеюсь видеться здесь со всеми по четвергам в течение июля и начала августа на нашей дискуссионно-образовательной программе. Спасибо. Thank you very much.